I want to talk in this segment about a shift of focus at NPR. NPR is National Public Radio. And, I'm not a regular listener to National Public Radio. I've been on a number of their shows in the past, mostly from my earlier books, Illiberal Education and The End of Racism. Whenever I am switching the radio channels and I come across NPR, I have to laugh because, NPR has a signature style. And the signature style is a kind of erudite obscurity, an erudite obscurity that is completely marinated in identity politics. So I want to do my little rendition of a few NPR shows today. And the commentators always speak extremely slowly. Today, on All Things Considered, we will follow the journey of a one-legged trans man, a Native American, as he travels through the Southwest. Or, today on Fresh Air, an indigenous man in the jungles of Brazil has developed a delicious beverage using his own urine. Our own Nancy Snodgrass samples the beverage and explains why it's not only delicious, it's very good for you. Today on Morning Edition, should the U.S. Army deploy gay platoons marching behind the rainbow flag? We'll talk to a professor of gay studies at Bowdoin College. This is NPR. This is NPR. Nowhere else do you hear this kind of, glacial rhetoric with absolutely absurd topics, but delivered with a certain kind of gray solemnity. Now, NPR has apparently decided to make explicit what a lot of us have known for a long time. They're absolutely going full-on left-wing. They're now going to let their own journalists participate in partisan left-wing activist demonstrations. Wow. So in other words, NPR is going nakedly partisan. And well, first of all, this should not be permitted for the simple reason that NPR is taxpayer funded. This is not the same thing as CNN going fully partisan, because NPR gets government dollars. It's part of the great shame of the GOP that the GOP has at times, protested the activism of NPR, but never done anything about it, never defunded this agency, which it should do. But evidently it's not willing to do it, and I'm not even really quite sure why. Now, the old NPR policy was really simple and probably a standard policy that reflected journalism in general. Quote, its writers and staffers, quote, may not participate in marches and rallies involving causes or issues that NPR covers, nor should they sign petitions or otherwise lend their name to such causes or contribute money to them. Pretty obvious. Even if the reporter has politics, kind of keep it to yourself. Why? Because we have a news organization that's trying to cover issues and cover them from different angles and cover both sides. But all of this, which reflects the old journalism, is now totally out the window. NPR has basically decided to change this policy, and I'm now going to read the new policy. NPR editorial staff may express support for democratic civic values that are core to NPR's work. This is a kind of a euphemism for anything to the left is okay, such as, but not limited to, the freedom and dignity of human beings, the right of a free and independent press, the right to thrive in a society without facing discrimination on the basis of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual identity, disability, blah, blah, blah. So clearly, identity politics is being carved out here as a permissible zone for NPR activism. Now, you might expect that there are, ethical societies, a society of professional journalists. You think they would be up in arms about it. But see, this is the time we're living in where not only is the press corrupted, but the watchdog agencies, the journalism schools that feed the press, are supposed to keep an eye on the press. They've been corrupted too. They too approve of these kinds of changes, and in fact, they themselves engage in the same kind of naked partisanship. So this, to me, is just a kind of corroboration of how far we've come. Even from a decade or two ago, when the press, although left, tried to maintain a modicum of balance, tried to deny that it was nakedly partisan. Now it's clear, and this latest policy shift in NPR only confirms it, that we are dealing with a one-sided government agency in which some Americans are favored, some causes are elevated, and the rest of us, including quite clearly you and me, are the enemy.